One topic that I'm surprised has not been covered much in 10 years or so on YT channels is the narcissism of casual encounters. Why? I think it has something to do with the people whose channels they are, because they themselves are narcissists. They have never truly understood that loner's perspective of not fitting in or questioning the point of themselves, like whether somebody with the characteristics of their identity should be valued the way that they themselves had assumed. But in the moments of casually occurring social and narcissistic abuse, all of that is suddenly thrown into chaos, mentally and emotionally, or at least it is a thorn in the side of somebody who can bear the aggravation, but not overpower the culprit. By overpower, I usually mean through assertive communication rather than through physical violence. Or perhaps I mean something in between. I suppose what I'm getting at would often just be called the rudeness of everyday life. There was a similarly but more rudely titled book on that subject by the author Lynn Truss years ago, who also wrote Eats, Shoots and Leaves. When can we ever overpower the culprit? We live in a society that emphasizes equality, yet we will always encounter strangers who will act in ways that are toxic, which clearly have no regard for social equality. We can sometimes see the tribal factors of class, locality, ethnic group, and in a different but potent way, sex or gender, that rationalizes excusing it. But at the end of the day, it probably felt personal, and was. The literal act of standing in somebody's way, in their path, is a prime and frequently occurring example of this. The passive and submissive individual, the reasonable, will often have it dawn on them that it was done on purpose. There is no etiquette for or of the pedestrian in between those people and themselves. It's an example of what Sam Vaknin recently called passive aggression and pernicious. But it very often happens casually and with strangers, occasionally, with strangers or near strangers, not just with people at home, at work, or earlier in life at school who you encountered regularly. It can lead to a lot of suffering, a lot of worrying on the part the person it happens to. The apparent higher likelihood of meeting that very same person causes more worry. More worry, the more they have you over a barrel. True if you live in proximity, work with them, and especially work under them. Something you will remember for years, they might forget in 5 minutes. You might remember for decades, for the remainder of your life. What we would call harassment, if it was prolonged, occurs instead as a sort of blameless hit and run. They should not ever walk at you, or more obvious than that, act as if a fight may occur, perhaps like preemptive self-defense by them. You are not being threatening. They should not be funny with you when serving you as a customer, in bad mood or correcting of you. When you as a marginalised person try to access help from charities, problems may occur, but they should never dismiss you, or however briefly, say things that judge the way you live. Or conversely, they should be more helpful when they can be. If you begin to make a fuss yourself, they should not virtue signal that shouting at you with more corrective speech, lecturing, threatening perhaps, and even some form of physical violence, maybe, or unwanted contact or action by them against you was justified. It was not fair or justified. Yet this sort of frequently and casually, without it involving any other form of crime that we recognise and see as being possible, this sort of thing happens frequently and casually. The victim may flash back Mentally, the victim may flash back, be it sixes and sevens, tongue-tied. When faced with this complete lack of respect, but these things go on and on. No remorse on the part of the culprit, no referee, no police, no checking by any other party.